The recent developments in Syria highlight a complex and intensifying conflict marked by Israeli airstrikes and growing internal strife. Among the significant incidents is the reported torching of the tomb of Hafez al-Assad, the father of current Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, in Kardha, the ancestral home of the Assad family. These events underscore the deepening turmoil in Syria, where domestic discontent intersects with regional geopolitical tensions. Israel has conducted airstrikes in Syria for years, primarily targeting Iranian and Hezbollah assets. These operations aim to prevent the establishment of a permanent Iranian military presence near Israel's borders and to disrupt the transfer of advanced weaponry to Hezbollah in Lebanon. In recent weeks, the attacks have intensified, with Israeli jets striking military installations, ammunition depots, and radar sites across Syria. The justification for these actions, according to Israeli officials, lies in the threat posed by Iranian-backed forces operating within Syria. Israel views this as a critical security concern, as Tehran has long supported the Syrian government militarily and logistically. These strikes are also a message to Iran and its proxies, signaling that Israel remains vigilant despite the broader instability in the region. The Israeli airstrikes have had significant ramifications for Syria. Beyond the immediate destruction of military assets, they have further strained the already beleaguered Syrian state. The strikes often occur near populated areas, causing civilian casualties and infrastructure damage, which exacerbates humanitarian challenges. The burning of Hafez al-Assad's tomb is a symbolic act that reflects growing dissent against the Assad regime. The tomb, located in the Alawite-majority town of Kardha in Latakia province, has historically been a site of reverence for supporters of the Assad family. Hafez al-Assad ruled Syria from 1971 to 2000, establishing a legacy of authoritarianism that his son, Bashar, has continued. The desecration of the tomb by rebels is not merely an act of defiance but also a statement against the regime's decades-long grip on power. This incident underscores the widening chasm between the government and factions of the Syrian populace, including some within traditionally loyalist communities. Kardha, being an Alawite stronghold, has been a crucial base of support for the Assads. The attack on the tomb indicates that the fractures within Syrian society are no longer confined to sectarian or regional divides but are reaching the regime's heartland. Syria remains deeply divided after over a decade of civil war. While Bashar al-Assad had regained control over much of the country with Russian and Iranian support, large swaths of territory remained outside government control. The northwest is dominated by rebel groups, including Hayat Tahrir al-Sham or HTS, while the northeast is governed by Kurdish-led forces. These rebels, particularly Hayat Tahrir al-Sham or HTS, have toppled the Bashar al-Assad government and forced the president to flee to Russia. Moreover, the Syrian economy is in shambles, with soaring inflation, fuel shortages, and widespread poverty further fueling discontent. The desecration of Hafez al-Assad's tomb coincides with increasing protests against the regime in regions like Sweden, where the Druze community has expressed frustration over economic conditions and political repression. These demonstrations reflect a broader loss of confidence in the regime's ability to govern effectively. The developments in Syria carry significant implications for the broader Middle East. Israel's actions highlight the ongoing proxy battle with Iran, adding another layer to Syria's complex conflict. Meanwhile, the Assad regime's apparent inability to maintain control over symbolic sites like Hafez al-Assad's tomb raises questions about its long-term stability. Russia and Iran, Assad's key allies, have vested interests in maintaining their foothold in Syria. However, their support alone may not be sufficient to quell growing internal dissent. On the other hand, Western countries remain cautious about direct intervention, focusing instead on humanitarian aid and sanctions against the regime. The Israeli airstrikes and the torching of Hafez al-Assad's tomb symbolize the multifaceted crisis in Syria. Externally, Israel's military actions underline the ongoing regional struggle for power, particularly against Iranian influence. Internally, acts of rebellion such as the desecration of the Assad family tomb highlight the growing dissatisfaction with a regime that has failed to address the economic and political grievances of its people. These dynamics point to a prolonged and uncertain future for Syria, where the interplay of domestic unrest and regional conflicts continues to fuel instability.